This meeting is being recorded.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Stephanie. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Hey,
Hey, Jake.
so we're hopefully we get some decent attendance.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Never know. Always a crapshoot around here. We got 17 people registered. I'm shooting the link out to
Great.
the Slack group right now, just in case there's any stragglers, which happens a lot.
You guys can see me okay, right? My should I dim the I'm just gonna dim this. One second. Crazy week in legal tech, eh?
I feel like we're going to be saying that a lot.
Yeah. Actually, we actually just closed some VC funding.
Oh,
Yeah. So
congrats.
we're off to the races.
Wait, I didn't even know that was like, I mean, we talked fairly recently, right? I didn't know that was part of the plan, or maybe, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's we got some big ambitions. So, hopefully I can do another demo in 6 months and we have a lot more to show off.
That's really good. But I want to hear the details. I don't know to the
Yeah,
extent
yeah.
you
And
you
I
want
could
to
also
share.
make some intros, by the way, if that's interesting to you.
We're fighting the good fight. We're gonna take it on the chin for a while until we until we can grow.
Yeah,
I
that was I am a little bittersweet about this. Like I feel like I've like joined the dark side or something. But
No, but listen, we all make our decisions, our strategic decisions, and I have no idea what I'm doing. Honestly, I told you last time we talked, a lot of my decisions were made for me. You know, we went out to
mhm.
raise on sort of like a different platform and idea, and marketplaces were just not in vogue.
Right, right.
Communities were not in vogue. Everyone just wanted to know how is AI, how are you doing this with AI? And so just it was we weren't speaking the same language, and from that point on, I was like, well, we don't need their money. We're going to build this without VC or any angel
Yeah.
investment.
VCs talk a big game about how they're like they look for outliers and they go against the trends, but really they're just looking for they just want to do exactly what everyone else is doing and follow a certain set of signals. And as soon as
Yeah,
it's no longer in vogue, they're just like, no, thank you. Which is why
yeah,
I was like super paranoid this week because look at the market, software not so hot.
yeah. Well, no one knows the future. You could just do your best, and we'll all
Yeah,
figure it out.
I do think the future though is with small law firms, AI native, boutique, small solos. That is definitely whatever the future looks like. I think they're going to be involved.
Hell yeah. Speaking our language. All
Yeah.
right. We'll give people one more minute to join. Looks like we got eight or so in here. Well, I guess this includes you and me. But yeah, we'll let some more people join. We got 17 registered. Hopefully, a few more show up, and
Yeah.
we'll get
And is this
started.
going to be recorded or?
Yeah, I can record it on my note taker, and then what we could do is actually, you know what? I'm gonna probably send my note taker out. Maybe record it on Zoom. Um, but yeah,
It
we'll
says it's
record
it
it,
says it's recording. Yeah.
and I'll share it with the folks who didn't make it,
Okay.
along with like the rest of the community. But usually we just drop these things in our events channel, and people watch it if they're interested. So whoever can't make it today, we will we'll get it to them.
Okay. Great. And I can also send like a we had discussed sending out a video like a personalized video, which I'm just now realizing that I never did.
All
So I
good.
could.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's one of those things that I'm experimenting with. I think it would be cool
Yeah.
because
No, it's a good
yeah,
idea.
it grabs
Um,
attention. But yeah, we'll do that next time.
yeah. Yeah. I can just get started, or if, maybe give it like a couple more minutes. Whatever
We
works.
can We can get started. It'll take time to do the intros. For those who have just joined, Jake started a company called Triple Checklist. He'll do a much better introduction on what his ambitions are with the company. But I was referred to Jake by Zoe, right? Another a Hey Council
Yeah.
member. And she does like I don't know if she's on this call, but she's M&A, corporate, has a big law background, started a firm with one other person, and she said she uses you all, thinks you're doing something great. And whenever Hey Council members really excited about new tech, I get excited about it, especially if they're early stage and there's a way we could support you and you could support us all
Yeah.
together. So yeah, that's the best intro I could do, but maybe you can jump in and talk a little bit about Triple Checklist, what your goals are, and then jump into the product.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So that's right. Zoe introduced me. Zoe and I go way back. And so I'm really grateful that she made the intro. And then basically my background is big law. I was at Pillsbury Winthrop Shaw Pittman for about 4 years, just as a corporate attorney, did like emerging company work, M&A, some cap markets. Before that, I was a software developer. So I have kind of a coding tech background, and I wanted to jump in the legal tech arena about a year and a half ago. So I left Pillsbury and to start Triple Checklist. And it was really just, it was a simple, the initial use case was pretty simple. I just wanted to solve a problem that I had as an attorney, which was transaction checklists. I just thought like it never made sense how the expectation was to build them and manage them in Microsoft Word, which to me was just like the absolute worst interface. And it just led to a ton of chaotic deals because like you're running these complex transactions and there's no way to manage them. And so people, like a junior associate might create the initial checklist and then never update it until maybe like 2 weeks later, the partner says like, hey, what's the status of the checklist? And then they'll kind of like rush to update the checklist. And it's just this mess. And it all kind of started from a place of the checklist is super hard to build and super hard to manage. So if you can solve that piece, not only do you have a better checklist, but you also have like a lot deals that are just run more efficiently. And and then of course, the stuff with AI is taking off. And I thought there was just a really great use case to integrate AI and make the platform AI native. So now it's kind of a situation where you can upload deal documents and generate a checklist directly from deal documents, or just a prompt. You can just prompt describe your transaction, and then it'll generate the checklist from that. So that's kind of the genesis of the idea. And we've also been adding, we're trying to turn this into more of like a full-blown transaction management tool. So we're adding, so for instance, we've added a signature tracker, and then we're also working to add like integrations with iManage and NetDocuments and then SharePoint. And then one of the things I'm interested here is actually to figure out like what DMS you all use, because I know like NetDocs and iManage might be overkill, but if you're using SharePoint or even like Google Drive, where it would be useful to kind of build out those integrations. So anyway, let me share my screen and we can do a little demo. If anyone has any questions, like feel free to interrupt me at any time and just ask. So including now. I think it says sharing is not turned on. Oh, I just sent you a request to share my screen. Okay, great. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, great. And any questions before we start? Okay. All right, so this is the kind of the main interface, and just to make it clear, like this works for, I think it could be really useful for all sorts of transactions, big or small. In addition, obviously it works for big transactions, and it's a good way to like map them all out. But even on small transactions, it's just a really nice way to organize them and then also track the status of them. So yeah, and I think that's why, for instance, Zoe is doing a lot of like ECBC, and even though they're relatively smaller transactions, she's doing a lot of them at once, and so it's really nice just to have them all in one place with the status of each task. But anyway, here you go to create your new checklist. You can describe your transaction. You can attach deal documents, an existing checklist, a template. To start, I'm gonna upload a term sheet that I just used, and then you could also provide additional instructions or context. Like you could say, like, the company is called XYZ, etc. You can say anything you want in the field there. But anyway, I'm gonna choose to just make an essential checklist, which is we're gonna just choose the core. Just gonna pull out like the core tasks. And I'm gonna click this button here to kick off the generation. So let's just wait a second. Any questions so far?
I just wanted to highlight for people, if you're wondering how Jake's a very small team right now. If you're wondering how he did all this, he is a software engineer. Before you became a lawyer, you were an engineer, right? So you
Yeah.
understand how to build things. Then after, I don't know how long, maybe 5, 6 years of doing software development, you transition to being a lawyer and a corporate attorney. So at Big Law. So you have like a really good, obviously, balance and very marketable skills, by the way.
Yeah,
But,
I mean,
so yeah.
so I've heard. No, yeah, exactly. So I've been, and I'm also just like a tech obsessed person in general. So always looking for new tools, and which was made being a lawyer somewhat frustrating in Big Law because you kept running into these like tech roadblocks. And I was constantly like asking myself, like, why are things this way? And I think a lot of that's changing now. I got out of Big Law at the end of 2024. And I think even in the past year, tools have there's just so much investment now in legal tech. So things have just like really changed in the past year. So it's clearly not as bad as it was, but it's like, obviously you all know that there's still a lot of room left to improve. Okay, anyway, the checklist is generated. You can preview it here. It should be extremely familiar. Again, I chose an essential checklist, so it's really just going to do the basics. So transaction documents, corporate approvals, closing. You could make it as detailed as you want. You could have chosen like a detailed checklist, and instead of it being 27 tasks, it might be like 60, for instance. So there's a lot of room to play around with it there. So here's where it gives you a name, a description, which of course you can update it. So I'm just going to call it like Project North Star. You can set like the access mode, which is gonna modify the default permissions. Anyway, so it pulls out the parties. This is a fake transaction, by the way. So Cooley and Pillsbury and Wilson are not involved. But let's say we were counsel at Pillsbury. I could say join party, and now I'm in this party. I can invite collaborators. So anyone on your team, you can invite your client, whoever you want to collaborate on the checklist with you. Now I'll just create the checklist and leave it a sec. Okay, so now we're in the kind of main checklist view, and I'm just gonna make sure everyone can see it. So again, you have your transaction documents, corporate approvals, your closing conditions. If you expand, you'll see that it also pulled out the like descriptions for each task. There's a notes section, due dates, pulled out signatories, section references. It assigned responsible parties. This is all based on the input document. So it pulls out as much detail as it can. And it's all configurable as well. So again, like one of the, I think like even if all I had built was Microsoft Word with drag and drop, I think it would be pretty useful. So of course, like you can drag everything around. You can nest tasks too. And it's just like super, so it's like a super quick responsive interface that just makes updating the checklist like super easy. You can add new tasks, you can delete tasks, you can just start typing and to update the names everywhere. And then of course you can change your statuses. So like you can set completed, in progress, blocked, and then you can add custom statuses. So like if you add I could say form final, and then map it to completed and save it. And then now whenever I want to, we'll see there's completed, but then there's also form final. So that's just kind of example of the basic interface. Again, the point is that it should just totally mirror an existing checklist, just interactive, easy to use, modern, and collaborative. So one last piece is the signature tracker. You can switch to this like signature tracker view, and then now you have all your signatories on the left, and then your documents here. And then you can just type it or click on anything, and then add, change the status. Okay, so that's all the non-AI stuff. Hopefully, it's pretty. You guys can see the value there. But then off to the right is the AI assistant. So I'm assuming you all use like ChatGPT, and maybe some of you use like Harvey or Lagor or something like that. The thing that they lack is transaction context. So I don't care what AI you're using, probably, unless you've like set up a ton of like custom workflows, they're not going to have any insight into the status of your transaction. So they have no way of knowing, what tasks are completed, what's due, who the parties are, none of that stuff. So our assistant, that's not the case. So you can ask it, questions like what's the overall transaction progress, and it has like full context of your checklist, so it knows what the progress is. You can then say, from there you could say, put this in an email to my client, and then it'll put in an email, and you say put it in a table, and it'll generate a nice looking table. So you can hopefully see like where the value is. Like you could also say things like propose new transaction documents for the first section. Oh, my spelling is bad today. And then it'll give you examples of things you can add. Now, okay, so that's all. This is all like one way, read only. But if I flip on the agent mode, little thing up here, I can now actually update the checklist directly. So I could say, add a task for FIRPTA certificate. Okay, and now you'll see it says FIRPTA certificate. You could then say, set the status to in progress. Okay, now it's in progress. And then, so obviously this is a trivial example. I'm just showing you a single task, but you could theoretically make it, add a ton of tasks, and it'll update the checklist accordingly. So I can accept or reject those changes. You can also upload documents. So one of the I think key pieces of this is that it can really it's very easy to have your checklist evolve as the deal evolves. For instance, let's say you receive a new email from opposing counsel with proposed changes. You could just drag that email into the assistant, and then have the agent update the checklist based on that email. You can do the same thing with amendments. If you have a deal document there, if you've already signed the merger agreement, and then it's amended later on that changes some of the deliverables, you can just upload the amendment, and then it'll update the checklist accordingly. So you can be really flexible about how you make updates to the checklist, so that it's like very easy to just always have your checklist in line with wherever your deal is and where it's changing. So that the AI really gives it like flexibility, and so you don't have to like go through a document and then manually determine, okay, I need to add a task here, I need to add a task there. You can just let AI handle it, and it's like remarkably accurate at how it can like pinpoint the specific changes that need to be made, and then it'll update the checklist accordingly. So that's the AI and both the assistant and the agent. I also wanted to quickly cover exporting to Microsoft Word. So at any time you can export. Well, first of all, I want to pause this to make sure there are no questions. Please feel free to ask any questions if anything isn't clear. Okay, great. So export to Word is super important. At any time you can just export to Word and it creates like a really nicely formatted Word checklist. So you can change the orientation, you can set your columns, you can change the font, your accent color. So let's make it like orange. And then you can also set, disclaimers if you have specific disclaimers you want to put on the top, like, this is not legal advice or whatever it is. Privilege and confidential is the default. But I'm just going to export it. All right. And then I'm going to share this. I'm going to see, share. Oops. Wait, can you guys see, what are you seeing right now? Are you seeing the Word doc?
Not yet. No, we don't see the Word doc. Eric asked a question, can this export to Excel as well?
Oh, it actually cannot export to Excel right now, just because most of our current customers export to Word and not Excel, but that's something we can easily get set up if that's something if you usually do Word checklists, Excel based checklists or trackers. We are adding that for the signature tracker piece. That should be out, I think, next week, where we're going to have, where it's going to be able to export to an Excel tracker, but just the signature piece. The tasks themselves right now only export to Word. But again, we can set, that's not, technically that's not very difficult to make it export to Excel as well. Anyway, here's the checklist that it generated, and your firm's logo would go here. Your party definitions is the first page. Now, there's also an opportunity to add both addresses for each of the parties, but then also contacts. And the contacts are not, they're different than collaborators that would be invited to the checklist. Contacts are just, if there's individuals that you want to put as like representatives of whatever the party is. And so they would show up on this page. It would almost be like a distribution list. Anyway, here's the checklist that it generated. So you'll see it should be super familiar. And we selected these columns, but you can add or remove columns from that export dialog. You have your corporate approvals, closing. So everything should be pretty self-explanatory there, and it's just a nice looking, consistent checklist that you can send to clients if you don't want to invite them to collaborate directly on the platform. Any questions on that? Okay, I'm going to go back to Chrome. Okay, so those are kind of the basics. There are a lot of other features that are useful, especially as you start using the product more. For instance, there's full version control. So like you can just create a new version. I can say, Jake draft 2 and 26, and then I can set on that version permissions. So I can set permissions for every party. So like I would say, I can say Atlas has view only, Cooley's going to have view and edit, and then we'll make Pillsbury also have view and edit. Then I'm going to create the version, and now I'm in Jake's draft. You'll see it up here. And now when I'm, if I'm updating in this draft, it's just going to update this version, and then I can at any time switch back to the initial version, and now you'll see these came back. And then I can also run a red line, so I can just run a red line against Jake's draft. Or I guess there's no changes there. So 1 second. Okay, I don't know why I didn't show that time. Well, you'll see here the changes that because we deleted them from the other drafts, and now they're showing up as additions in this draft, and then you can accept or reject the changes there. Yeah, that's like the basic versioning. And then there's filters. You can filter task, you can filter by responsible party, you can filter by due date, owner, etc. So, I mean, the real point is that this is just like overall just a really easy way to manage your transactions. And I think like on one hand, it's a transaction checklist, but kind of like what I was saying before is when you have a really good transaction checklist, it just makes your transactions run so much more smoothly. And so it's not just the checklist that you're fixing, it's the whole transaction. And I think that's kind of like one of the big insights that we've realized as we've been building this out. It's just like how much better deals run when you have a checklist that actually works and can easily be updated. So yeah, I mean, it works for big firms, small firms. I think a lot of users are actually just using it to manage tasks. Like even if they're not tasks for legal transactions, they can, because I mean, you can just like you don't have to just build a transaction checklist. You could have it build any sort of checklist. Like if you have like a client intake checklist you want to use, you can do that. Really anything. It doesn't have to be legal. And so I think a lot of our users they just like the interface so much that they're using it for non-legal projects. And, being lawyers, we all love checklists. So, even for managing non-legal projects, if you like a checklist, it's super useful for those use cases. One thing I didn't mention is the template library. So like any checklist can be saved as a template. We have some default templates, but you can also, if you go to checklist, actually I'll do this one. You can just save it as a template, and then you can just say, Jake's template, and then I think I might already have that, Jake's new template. And then you can set the transaction type. I'm going to save it as a template. And then if you go to view templates, you'll see it's right here. And then I can preview it. And so this is the template. And then at any time I can just click use template. And now I'm building a checklist based off of this template. So you can, so I can say like update this for a public company merger. So I'm using this template, but I'm updating it for a public company merger. And then I can, and then it's going to generate the checklist using that template, but then updating it accordingly just for a public company merger. So, I think what a lot of users do is they'll, if they have certain transactions, 3 or 4 types of transactions, they'll create templates for each one. And then that's kind of like their go-to way of creating new checklists, is that they start with a template, but then add the prompt to modify that template. Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting on the idea of having multiple use cases. I used to do privacy audits early on in my kind of like solo and freelance lawyering life, because I did a lot of privacy work at my different in-house jobs.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things that I would keep track of and then update the clients on, and everything from just like small like data mapping tasks to understanding what their surface area was publicly, checking their websites,
Yeah.
and then obviously updating privacy policies to new updates in the law. So all those things were so hard to keep track of. Having sort of like a checklist that I could easily generate, use as a template, and even export to Word to update them on the progress. I could even stick it in like a Google Doc, because most clients would want that. I imagine, yeah, there's so many use cases for building out checklists, and I really like the idea of using AI for things that are creating, and like we'll call it SaaS, right? AI and SaaS, the combination of the two, to create structure where there otherwise wasn't like structure, in a really kind of like easy, approachable way. It's not high stakes. Like you're not asking the AI to complete the task. You're asking AI to do something that it does really well, which is just create structure and create things to think about as you, the lawyer, are going through and making sort of like the tough decisions and identifying the priorities and what things need to be done, what doesn't. and then actually doing the thing. So it's cool. It's a really cool application. I do want to leave time for people to ask questions. I know Ryan, you have some questions that you
Yeah,
mentioned.
absolutely. Um, no, and that's exactly why we built this. I think it's like a perfect application for AI because yeah, it's not necessarily like mission critical. Like if it makes a mistake, it's not like, it's not gonna get you in trouble. And we've also like set up so many ways for you to work with the AI, review its outputs, easily, up edit what so it's really like a collaborative thing where you're working with the AI to build the perfect checklist. Um, so
Ryan,
yeah,
you want to jump in?
for sure.
Great. Uh, this is awesome, Jake. Um, I'm still amazed that like the standard operating procedure is, at these top tier law firms is a ugly formatted Word table, and then you have 7 lawyers getting on a call who all bill an average of $1,000 and walk through each item in real time, and then the junior associate records the notes from that and then circulates the checklist.
Yeah, like
Uh,
literally like a $10,000 call.
this is an improvement, to say the least. Um, I'm sure that you have a feature roadmap that is like miles long, but I'm just going to ask about a few of them because they may already be
Yeah,
there.
yeah,
Um,
totally.
signature pages, e-signatures, and signature tracking. Um, do you have anything for that yet, or are we like manually tracking whether signatures have been uh,
Yeah,
obtained?
that is the natural next kind of evolution, and we are spending. That's like the next big kind of feature release is. So right now we have this. I don't know if you saw this in the demo, but so we have signature tracking within,
Yeah,
and you
signature.
yeah, we can see the signatures here. You can easily like add a new signature or just make up a name. Um, and then there's this dedicated signature tracking view, which
Mhm.
kicks you out here, so you can easily track the status. So the next step is yes, generating signature pages, and then also integrating with e-signatures like DocuSign and whatnot. Um, I think that's kind of the missing link between this being like a transaction management tool, but then also a closing management tool. So you kind of have cover the whole life cycle of the deal.
Yeah, I'm going to follow up with you afterwards because I have acquaintances who built that and then shut that down. But it's it worked a few years ago. No reason why.
Yeah, no, there's a few solutions out there, but none of them are really AI native at all. And I think
Yeah.
it's another really great opportunity to use AI
Mhm.
because it just saves you a ton of time. Generating the signature pages is something AI can do, whether or not they're already either whether that's like extracting them from the current documents, you upload the documents, or just creating new ones. Like it already knows who the signatories are, so you can just create pages for them, and then integrating with DocuSign is obviously important. So I
Mhm.
think we'll do it in kind of we'll take the same approach we took to checklist, make it AI native, and then do that for signature tracking. So we have that. That's like on the near term roadmap.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sharing and collaboration. If you don't want to be sharing that um, Word doc, but want to directly work inside the interface, can you do
Yeah.
that with the client, with the counterparty, with the counterparty's attorney?
Yeah. 100%. That's all in there.
Great.
You can so up here is where it's kind of like the party box. So
Mhm.
see the parties down here. So if you see a little avatar, that means that
Yep.
they have been invited and they're collaborating on the checklist. But then you can just add a new person here just by putting in their email address. Or if you click this button here, you can kind of see the more detailed party view. And so you can add there's contacts, which again are
Mhm.
just more for like distribution lists, but then there's collaborators, which are down here. So for any contact, you could invite them, and then they'll receive an invite to collaborate on the checklist, and then they can work, directly on the checklist here. And then, of course, permissions become really important. So there's permissions based both on the version level. So
Mhm.
for any of these tasks, like if in this one, for sure, any of these versions, I can you can see where the restrictions currently are. So there's both party permissions, user permissions, but then also on the individual tasks, you can set a permission. So
Mhm.
I can say, no access for Hawthorne, save
Yeah.
it, and then you'll see there's actually this is my party, so I just made myself have no access. But this is what it looks like. It just kind of says a restricted task, so they'll know
Mhm.
the task exists because you don't want to like screw up ordering, but they won't be able to see it.
Right. And then kind of when you get more granular, if there's stuff I want my team or my client to see, but don't necessarily want the other side to see, but they're in there, how
Mhm.
might that work? So like, I'm sending notes in
So
there's a comment feature, right? Like I may want
yeah,
to comment for just my client, but not.
yeah. So right now we don't have individual
Cool.
cell level permissions, but that is again kind of on the near term roadmap,
Mhm.
where you'll be able to like it will just be the same. It'll be the same idea where it's just a permission for each cell that so you could hide individual cells. So there'll be 3 levels as opposed to only 2. Um, and then, but I mean, right now, I guess the solution is either to rely on the task level permissions or just the version level permissions where you might have an internal version where you're commenting on everything. It's super easy to create a new version. I mean, you literally just like click this button, give it a name, and now you
Yep.
have a new version.
Cool.
But so yeah, but that again, that's definitely on the roadmap. The specific like comment permissions, and then also like cell individual column level permissions.
Um, Document generation. So the checklist has generated the list of all the things that we need. Are there any features yet where we can, based on what we know, generate a draft of
Yeah,
the
so
agreement?
you're really catching on to where we're headed with this. Yes, that is on the roadmap, especially so we're kind of like building towards a bigger, a more ambitious product that I don't want to really go into too much detail about, but that's kind of where a lot of it is heading.
That's
Is like especially for like things like like certificates or there's nothing there. You should just if you have like a really basic like certificate, you should just be able to click a button and generate it.
Mhm.
Um, and so yeah, that's so not yet, but soon.
Cool.
Is the answer.
This is a very logical MVP.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Um,
I want to
and then
give
the other one which you might add, which we mentioned earlier, is like deep integrations with DMS. So SharePoint, um, iManage, NetDocs. Right now we have kind of shallow integrations where you can put any sort of link because all these services generate these external links like netdocs.com
yeah.
slash blah blah blah. And then you could link to it there, and then you can put doc IDs. But we're going to be integrating their APIs. ND Connect is one. I forget what iManage is called, but so you'll be able to like do like real feature linking to those documents, and also download the documents directly from here.
Do you have something to say, Brian?
Yeah, Isaac asked in the chat, what model are you using primarily to extract the checklist items, and are there context window limitations for longer documents or multiple documents?
Yeah, so we use the GPT family models, OpenAI. We're always like within a day we'll update to the latest and greatest. So right now it's 5.2. I actually think they're coming out with a new one in the next few days, so we'll be updating it. But there is right now we have a 300-page limit on the documents you can use to generate the initial checklist. That's not we technically I think could raise it. It just when you start getting into like longer pages, it can just kind of takes longer, and we found that 300 pages is typically enough to get the majority for most use cases. And then what you can also always do if you have more than that is you can generate the initial checklist with the 300 pages. But then once it's generated, you can use the agent to, add additional files that you need. But and those 300 pages can be spread across an unlimited number of documents. So like you can upload 10 documents that are each 30 pages, for instance, and to generate the checklist that way. And was there another question there about? Oh, the other thing I should mention is like we go through and all the requests are routed through in Microsoft Azure Proxy, which goes through data loss prevention. So it actually will scan all the inputs, including documents. So if you upload a document, scans it and redacts sensitive information. The only thing it doesn't redact is party names, because we need the party. We use the party names in the checklist, but anything like bank account information or social security numbers, like that never hits the AI. It's like literally like redacted with like stars. And you can like test that out yourself by like typing in a social security number and asking the AI to repeat what I just sent, and it will just show a bunch of stars.
Cool.
Or asterisks. Yeah.
Can I
any other
guess
questions?
that
Yeah.
the like the functionality on assembling like a closing set or the set of, well, actually, can you show like for each task, can you attach files to it?
Yeah, so that was the piece about that we're adding with the
Yeah.
with like the DMS integrations.
Okay.
So initially,
But can you manually do it now?
No, but that's something we are looking to do. So like our reasoning behind that was just that, we work with a lot of big law firms, and there's a lot of security hoops that you have to go through. And one of the things we were trying to do is like really minimize our security risk profile. And so it was nice to be able to say we don't upload any documents. The documents never rest on our servers. Even when you're uploading documents for the AI, it just uses the documents to generate the checklist, and then it just disappears. It deletes. Once you start getting into like hosting the actual documents on our servers, it kind of like increases the risk profile a bit. So what we prefer is to just work directly with like the DMS systems. That said, like now that we've been expanding to smaller firms without the huge like security apparatus attached to it, like it's more feasible to just add like basic document uploading, and our servers are secure. We use like really like well-known and well-maintained platforms to host all our content. So assuming that as long as the user is okay with it, we're going to be adding that soon, where you can just like basic document uploads, in addition to the integrations with SharePoint and NetDocs and iManage.
Yeah, because one of the problems that you have in a deal is that like you have two DMSs that like live in silos, and it would be great to have version control on a document that is like in a single source of truth. So,
Yeah.
The document that went over on February 1st, and then you have the latest and greatest, and be able to redline those quickly would be cool. But not essential. You're getting most of the essential stuff, which I think is really good.
I mean, like we view this as like a really good transaction checklist right now. And then I think some of the stuff you're proposing and that is on our roadmap is like turning it into like a full blown like transaction and closing management platform.
Yeah.
So I think there are some trade-offs once you start. One of the really nice pieces about this right now is that it's like just so easy to get up and going. Like you can literally, like, if you've used a transaction checklist before, like you can, obviously we offer trainings, but like you should be able to use it without a training.
Right.
So we're trying to be really thoughtful about like all the features that we implement, just to make sure that we don't get into something where it's like where we're now not as easy to use because we're adding so many features.
Absolutely.
But that said, the features you're talking about are pretty important to a lot of people.
Well,
so.
you open up the world when you have a smarter checklist interface like this, as opposed to Word, because just the natural extensions, they're hard to build, and their security implications Very
And
natural.
there's so many directions you can go with it. And we are really trying to be like the main dashboard, like the main like command center for your transaction. So it does make sense to have all these kind of integrations at the different systems that you're using.
Only one more question.
Yeah, absolutely. This is great.
And so, one of the things that I'm doing when I like run my deals is for the client and kind of assessing with my team, like what is in different people's courts,
Yeah.
and kind of prioritizing the blockers, which is kind of like taking, the view of this table and kind of pivoting it in certain ways. So like, are there other ways to view it or filter the checklist?
So when you say court, do you mean like who's responsible for it, or or who's currently
Who's
editing
the
it?
blocker on
Yeah.
moving that thing forward?
Yeah. So you can filter by responsible party.
Mhm.
And there it's funny, there was a column that we had called not whose court, but something, I forget exactly what we called it, but it was basically to tell you like where the document currently was residing.
Right.
But
Yep.
we removed it and replaced it with due date, just because you kind of get into like these interface
Sure.
constraints when you, and so we thought that due date was more important. But we technically have that on our back end, and we could probably re-implement it. Right now, I think the best way to go about that would just be to put it in notes.
Mhm.
And then, or the other thing that we actually see is, and this may be even the better way to do it, is actually a pretty elegant way, maybe even better than adding a new column, is just to create a new custom status. And then, you make that custom status like Hawthorne blocker.
Mhm.
And then you map it to blocked.
Mhm.
And then now for any task, you'll see it, and you can just say like, this is Hawthorne block.
And you can
and you
filter and group by that.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Cool.
you can do it. You can group by like by the broad blocked. So I guess that's one limitation there. But we can figure out a way to get to get this to work exactly how you want it.
I'm very idiosyncratic.
Yeah. So and again, like we are very collaborative. So like one of the reasons we really want to work with you guys is because this is an area where we really want to work with like smaller firms and boutique firms. And then not only that, we want to be able to like really tailor the product to your use case, because obviously your use case is different than the big law use case, which is different than the mid law use case. And so we're really trying to work with all different size firms so that we can work with people like Ryan who are going to give feedback, and then we can actually like, our turnaround time is like shockingly fast. So like Ryan, for instance, if you were like, hey, if you become a customer and you're like, I really need this, like we could probably get it for you within 24 hours, ship something out. And so that's just kind of like the feedback loop that we're working with. So yeah, even if you don't see something that's perfect right now, I'd like to think that like we're really good about implementing features that we agree with, and typically, you give us like a well thought out feature and we agree with it, we're going to implement it. So yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Any other questions? I mean, I have some time if anyone wants to ask any additional questions. Really quick, I do want to say, so we're offering 20% off. There's a discount code, and then you can sign up self-serve, or you can either just sign up by going to our website, but then you can also contact me, and we could set you up like with a kind of like enterprise account if you're larger, more users, or for whatever reason you don't feel comfortable with the self-serve option. The self-serve option will just be like to bill you monthly. If you work with me, we could set up like an annual account and maybe customize it a little bit more for you. So yeah, those are your options. Really hope that you guys can all become members and we can work with you, and like again, like really shape this to become the platform that helps you guys the most. So thank you all.
Yeah, just showing where that discount is on our platform. But if you see any issues, you can always reach out to me. But yeah, good stuff. Jake, thank you.
Yeah.
This
And
is
you can reach me directly at jake@triplechecklist.com. And then our support page is also support@triplechecklist.com. And yeah, so we really hope that, some of you sign up. You can sign up at triplechecklist.com or using the link in the vendor page for Hey Council.
great. Thanks so much for doing this. I know, yeah, you'll have a lot of interested people over time, people who want to give you a lot of feedback. I get a lot of feedback all the time about how I should be doing things better, so I'm sure you will.
I love it though. It's like it's the best way to improve the product
Yeah.
because from the people actually using it. So yeah,
100%.
it's awesome.
Yeah, it's gold. Very cool. Good stuff. And we'll get you on as things evolve and you put all that the new resources to work. We'll get you back on in the coming months. So thanks for
right.
doing this. And yeah, good stuff. See ya.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
See ya.